All right. Yo, yo, yo. All right. I think we're live. So check it out. This is the Artifakt Hour. We're starting this live stream, kind of like Bob Ross style podcast type thing where basically I'm just going to paint shit in my studio and I'm just going to run these cameras and just talk about shit and talk about the process and maybe what the painting means and a million other things in between. So yeah, it's kind of just open format. It's a way for me to like get in the studio and stay busy in here, but also like kind of give a more in-depth peek and approach into some of this work. So got this big painting. It's a 5 foot by 4 foot canvas that I started back in February of 2022. And like basically I painted it at a bunch of different festivals. I painted this at a festival called Winter Wake Up. It's like an indoor hotel party that this was started at. And then basically I've had it in my studio for like a whole year. And then I brought it back out at Fractal Tribe at Fractal Fest last year. So 2023, this has been like kind of on and off for like the past year. So basically, I'm coming into this painting like with maybe like 30, like a good 30 hours into this, I think, if I had to guess. So I'm trying to like finish it up. I would say it's like 90%, 95% complete. And basically, like, um, it's at like its finishing stages. So it feels pretty good. And like, I'm shaking off a lot of rust from my studio practice. Like, now that it's what, like 20 degrees, 30 degrees out here in the Northeast, we got like a foot of snow or whatever the last couple days. And so, like, now's a good time just to like kind of like lock into studio practices, getting these paintings done. And so basically, like right here, what I'm doing right now is like this is a glaze medium. It's basically a translucent effect that is allowing me to just glaze color over this without covering the actual piece itself. So boom. So I'm kind of just like tinting all this brick, giving it more red, giving it more warmth. Um, the process with this painting, it goes pretty deep. Like I started off the background, all of this in the background here, that's all spray paint. So like a lot of that like speckling and dust and clouds and just like atmosphere was all done with cans. Um, all the building blocks of all this pyramid was all done with acrylic, but also that's not true. I actually did a lot of that with water-based spray paint too. So like I built a lot of this out with water-based cans and then just like straight edges. And I just did it kind of organic. Like it's not perfect. Like I don't want it to be perfect. It's a crumbling temple, so it's not really like I don't sit here and measure all this stuff out and get all crazy with it the way that the maybe the actual pyramids are. It's not an actual pyramid; it's a painting. So fuck it, you know. So kind of like tinting up these brick, giving it a more like reddish warmth effect, and then finding the sweet spots with it. Like the cool part about glaze is like again, you can blend it over stuff. It's kind of like a watercolor for acrylics. So you can like I basically painted this whole thing in grayscale with just black and whites and grays to build out the values to make like one side darker than the other side lighter to give it that like, the lighting effect. And then I just tint it with glaze. I don't paint it brown. I paint it black and white in monochrome, and then you glaze and tint the color, like give it a like a tone basically after the fact. Like it's a much easier way to paint, and like it took me a long time to realize that's the way a lot of this stuff is done. You're building your layers, your lights and darks with just like basic black and white. It's way easier that way. You're not working in all the tones of color until like later on in the game. And so like now with the glaze, I've probably gave like this whole pyramid probably at least like three, maybe even four coats of glaze in like various like oranges and yellows and reds and all kinds of stuff to give it like a glow, because it, originally it was just black and white and gray, like all these, UFOs and stuff. So yeah, Tom, feel free to like move any of these cameras around or whatever if you think there's like better shots. And I know like adjusting the lighting, because this like didn't even like that kind of, does that make it's better with the light or without it? With it. Yeah, I feel that way too. Honestly, it's kind of dark. But like I said, just like move them around like if we need to. It's Yeah, we're obviously just working out kinks. This is a whole fucking experiment. This is a total whatever thing we're doing. No plan. No one does this stuff. So we're not trying to like copy or like do something that someone else is doing. Like we're just gonna paint and talk about it and show you what we do. So consider it like a peek behind the curtains, if you will. Um, Not overly concerned with the like making it a whole production. It's not a TV show. It's just like this is what we paint, this is what we use, this is what we do, and like people ask about the process, like they're interested in the behind the scenes of things, and like honestly a lot of what we do is very kind of secretive, and like it's not like it's a secret, it's just that we do it in these isolated studios, these places where we make our art. It's kind of like you're in a cave, people don't see it in this way, but like when I do murals out in the world, like it's exposed to all the like the general public. So like when you're doing street art, like your whole process is flipped where like everybody sees how you do it and watches you do it, and it exposes you, versus like you're in this traditionally in the studio, you're like hidden away, you're working on all these pieces and like nobody sees them for what, like mad like many months, and then you just like come out with a show out of somewhere. Like I mean, that's cool, but like also like it's kind of interesting to be like a fly in the wall in the studio. At least I would maybe think or assume that might be interesting for somebody who like has no idea about this stuff at all. So I guess that's the point. We're just trying to like put it out there so that like somebody who's interested in this stuff maybe understands a little bit more about it, and it makes like art, this style of art more accessible. So speaking of style, we call it style. Style, like your style. In this particular piece, I feel like, I'm trying to go for like there's a term, visionary art, which is like more of this like in-depth kind of fractal kind of like out there, really heady concepts and this kind of thing. So I think there's a bit of that influence in here, at least me trying to like go for a more, in-depth kind of piece, but also like there's some street art influence in this with like the splatters, the drips, all the stuff on the bottom here. Like I'll just get a little close up here because we got these pretty badass cameras that are 4K and capture pretty much everything. So like there's all these little drips and spray paint effects and splatters and like little graffiti techniques. So I kind of incorporated a lot of that. And then of course here at the top there's like, this whole portal and a little small little person that I put in here, a little figure, like basically getting beamed up into this like portal of light. So so as far as like the concept and subject matter on artwork like this, like honestly, what are we gonna say here? Like pyramids, not only is it like an interesting shape to paint, but it's like it's kind of the thing that fascinates me about it personally is that like all these different cultures built pyramids in different parts of the world unbeknownst to one another, and the fact that like they all had their own interpretation or different style on that particular like structure or sculpt, like that particular project, or like the idea of building a temple, almost like building a museum or building some sculpture, some like grandiose art project that like takes like a whole civilization's effort to like culminate to. Like I just think that's fascinating, and like what is it that like drew them to make that so important? You know, like I don't know. I think of it like we do it the same with the way we build stuff up. Like technology is like a temple, like we worship it, where we give everything we have to it and just build this thing up until like, now we've got AI, we've got, this crazy virtual metaverse that we just like worship and we like upload like our souls into it. It's like, it's pretty wild. Um, but yeah, so like I feel like it's important with artwork not to get like super into the literalism of this stuff. Like I can't like tell you what it means, right? Like you got to feel that for you. So I tread these waters lightly, but also at the same time like, I want to open up the conversation. So I don't know. I guess I guess a lot of people, believe that there's like ancient aliens, like that whole concept, that whole whatever show, is like based off of like, extraterrestrials like having influence over the ancestors, the people who built these things. Like the reason why they're so perfect and exact, is like, did they have some sort of like extraterrestrial knowledge or some ancient knowledge that's passed down? And like, who knows, Like, I don't really feel one way or the other about these type of things. I think 100%, obviously, they had like, the hookup, on some wisdom and some knowledge. Like they got the download from something somewhere. I don't claim to know what or who it came from, but like facts, like it definitely like they got that from somewhere, So like I think it's interesting to just explore that idea and through painting stuff. Like if I'm interested in something, it doesn't mean like I know everything about it and like I'm trying to like, write the story here. It's really just like an interpretation of a concept and an archetype. And that's like, I guess, what I try to capture with my artwork is just like dabbling with archetypes and how like archetypes are universal. Even if like the archetype is like the pyramid, like we have our own interpretations of it. Like I said, I have my own pyramid, right? Like my metaphorical pyramid that I'm trying to build, whether that's like, your art career or your legacy or a family or a business or any of those kind of things. Like, it's a joint venture that you can't do by yourself. It takes many steps and many bricks, and it's like, it's a brick by brick kind of thing. And, so again, like Artifakt, if you ask like those of you who are new to this whole thing, if someone, just randomly finds this, it's basically like it's the idea of building future artifacts, like artwork is always trying to create a legacy of something that someone will find in the future later. And it's really like comes back to the really simple act of like, I was here. It's like making your mark on the world to validate your existence, to know like it wasn't just, in your imagination, that like, that you just like all of this shit wasn't just a dream, but that you were actually alive and you actually did something and experienced stuff and like witnessed stuff. And so we all we all have our like our artifacts, like our things that like we're trying to create or leave behind for the world to uncover. Or like artifact is something you're uncovering as like something ancient, but that's reawakening. Like you're when we tap into like graffiti, for example, like we think of it as this like, oh well, it's this like new age type of like phenomenon, this urban street art culture. But like realistically, hieroglyphics were inscribed on walls so long ago, and like thousands of years. It's like that's been ancient. Like people have been doing this for a long time. It's nothing new to write on walls, to inscribe history and like leave a mark. So like, what's really new? Like everything's already been done before, but also at the same time you have to go back. These concepts come full circle so that you're actually like, it seems it's relevant to like our new, our modern age or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. A good example is that like that building in Miami, the Vitas building as they call it. Look it up on Google or whatever, but all these graffiti artists at Art Basel all painted this one big huge building, and like in a way it's like this monument to the whole culture, to the whole like fact that it takes more than one. It's not like it doesn't exist in isolation. It only exists as an ecosystem, and everyone plays their role in summer, play bigger roles or different roles than others, but like, we're all just part of the whole, parts of a whole, so to speak. So, anyways, that's like a little bit of back history on Artifact as a concept, or like an origin, if you will. We came about in 2017. Was the origination of that like brand, that identity, and it served to basically like create a professional studio around. Like we were as artists just amateur, or not amateurs, but like trying to make a living off of it and trying to go professional with it. And that was a decision that like we made at that time in 2017, after doing a series of projects that like I really believed in the whole thing, and decided to just like quit my job and go for painting full time, making art, which for better or worse, I don't necessarily regret it, or I recommend it, so like it's one of these things that like I don't think it's really a choice. I think it's like it's something you have to do. If you for those who do it, it's like we can't not do it. So we got to choose something with this art path. And like for me, the murals have always been, they've been the savior for me, like with COVID and all that. Like fine art has really honestly changed. I said the boogie word. Oops. Nah, the C word. We can't say that word no more. It's like, But anyways, we're not. Yeah. But so like, yeah, like murals really saved me, because before, fine art was like a big part of my career, my game, and my business. And like when that thing happened in 2020, it really killed off like the whole fine art exhibition, gallery, festival, entertainment hustle, and selling paintings has become like not as much of a thing. Of course, like NFTs and all that stuff popped off. Like things have just like digitized, and values and assets, the way we like view what we spend our money on, what we collect and consume, has like drastically changed. So it really has nothing to do with like the fact that people like, people are making more art than ever. But honestly, that's the thing. I think people are selling less, art because of it, because we all make it, and we have like an oversaturation of like, people who are making art, but from, with therapeutic context, like a lot of people got side hobbies and side hustles, and like, sometimes like it's good to have like hobbies and also like have your like job and your gig, so it's like your passion can be your job, but if you don't have like a hobby or something to keep it fun, like, and fresh, like you're gonna burn out on it. So what I feel like is that like, I don't know, the trends are that people want to like create versus consume. And so part of like doing this YouTube and doing all these like, the point of like talking about this content and making like, allowing people inside the studio is to basically like, give them, feeds more of like the educational demand for people that want to learn about this stuff. So that being said, I'm going to get back to just talking about this art itself and what I'm doing. I'm still glazing, and I'm still glazing. I'm adding like just little spots of red, and it's maybe like hard to see from like a distance. I almost feel like, like having more closer live camera would help, because I don't know how much this one's getting. It's almost like needs to be like, this painting's so big that it's one of these ones that's like hard to fully fully capture in one little shot. But anyways, we're working it out. It's all good. I feel like I'm just doing like really small stuff that's like inconsequential. So like moving along here, I can glaze all this way later. It looks glazed up to me like a glazy donut. Um, let's see. I'm gonna just skip ahead and like one of the parts of this piece, basically it's a mixed media piece. Like I said, I did spray paint, I did acrylics, I did a bunch of ink stuff on top of it. But I'm trying to throw some stencils in this, and I have this one dope little stencil cutout that I'm gonna throw on here real quick. And I think this is gonna be like the interesting part as far as actually watching me paint something, not just talk about random aliens and shit like that. All right, so check this out. I got this Mayan inscribed calligraphy style stencil, like these patterns in here that I'm gonna overlay over the top of this background. And basically the stencil's cut with a laser. So like if you can see the circles here, like the slivers, there's like crazy precision on this. So basically the way it works is like this is designed on Adobe Illustrator. It's taken through this full spectrum laser that burns through this oil board, and it makes it so precise. Like it's better than you could ever cut with a razor blade or an X-Acto knife. Like I've hand cut my stencils for years, but this is like the most precise stencil technique you could possibly get. So like for something when we're doing circles, like I wanted to do a circle ring pattern. And again, I wanted to make it feel like this temple is like downloading into space. So I needed it to be perfectly precise. Like I was going to cut it and hand paint it and do all these other things. And at the end of the day, I honestly would have screwed it up. Like I needed it to be perfect. But I wasn't going to force it. It's one of those times where I feel like technology is worth utilizing. Like a lot of artists, like they're like allergic to technology. And like, honestly, I think it's really not about technology. I think it's about balance with your art process. Like you can't be all analog or all digital. You got to have like a mix of both in order to have like a healthy balance with it. So like painting being the analog process for like versus, okay, like I could sit here and paint this whole geometric pattern, but honestly, like like it's not worth the time. Like, and honestly, like I really, the truth is I really just want to spray paint it so I can do like a very light pattern with this and not like overcomplicate it. I don't want it to show up too heavy. The other thing here is like only a portion of this pattern is even going to show up because some of it's going to be blocked. It's going to be like behind the pyramid, essentially. That's kind of the way I want it. So it's going to take me a moment to just like figure out the placement when I when I put a stencil up. Like the stencil could go either way. It's really up to me at the end of the day. And I'm kind of feeling it like this. I was kind of feeling like this earlier, you know, and it's really important for me to like make sure it's totally centered. So I might honestly like actually yeah, so I'm gonna eyeball it like I always do, you know, but I really feel like, you know, I want the center of this here. I'm gonna come down just a little bit. So like honestly, I can't tell you as far as like placing a stencil as to like how and where to place it, but to me, I'm just eyeballing this shit. And then I feel like it's right about there. And I kind of have, okay, so like my stencil, I have these little like little bridges, right, that connect everything. And I'm kind of just lining it up there, honestly. Like, so I use this blue painter's tape. You get it at Home Depot. It's super easy to use, and it doesn't like stick onto your painting. It's not gonna ruin your painting. So it doesn't really matter if I stick it to the canvas here. I really just want to set it into place so that it doesn't move at all, and then I can kind of like step back and like adjust the placement accordingly. But like once it's set, like you kind of want to leave it. Like I don't want to mess with it. So like let's step back. All right, like I'm feeling actually pretty good about the placement, the sizing of the stencil. See, that's the thing. I kind of guessed on the sizing too. Like it's a 23-inch stencil, so it's like a little under 2 feet, which was kind of about the max that I could make it. But it worked out. It fit the piece, like the size around this little pyramid and this is like the focal point of the piece. So like I really gotta nail this or I'm gonna fuck this whole painting up. Like, let's be honest, right? So yeah, so like part of me, part of me wants to rotate it a little bit, but part of me think it's like it's good to go, right? Yeah, like I trust that the placement's on point. I want to just peek behind the veil a little bit, but I think we're good. And so like this is kind of like a momentary thing with this with painting, especially with stencils. Like, you know, they're like definitely a statement, especially like this far into a piece. Like it might have been better for me to do it earlier on or something, but you know, I didn't think of it. I didn't get there with it. Like I didn't know what it needed until I knew it needed it. So, you know, that's kind of what happens with these things. Now, like one of my questions I feel like is should the mandala, like should the ring go behind the pyramid versus come in front of it? Because my thing was always to put it behind it. You know, because it's more like, yeah, it has to be. It has to be. So, all right. So what I'm doing right here is I'm just like masking up a lot of this extra stuff because basically what ends up happening is you get overspray when you're using spray paint. We're going to be using a water-based spray paint. And so it's used inside. You can use this indoors with no fumes and no odors. And I don't have to wear a mask or anything. But spray paints create a lot of dust and overspray. So I'm taping this off to avoid all that. All right. So gonna tape it underneath. And this blue stuff is gonna save us. I should honestly, like, if I really want to go the extra distance, and I will, because like, why are we gonna just come this far and mess it up? What's cool is like if I like don't even forget, if I like forget that I needed something, it's right here because we're in the studio. Like this is amazing to be able to like stream and basically like kind of feel like I'm teaching a class, but like I'm kind of just talking to myself, you know? You feel crazy, like you feel like you're just talking into a void. I also need someone else on a mic to riff with. Not now, but like you could. I mean, you might as well. Like it could be a full podcast like type situation. Because otherwise, you know, if I'm talking to production, but my producers don't have a mic, then like it's a different one-way conversation. There is that other one that's like tucked away. Yeah. It's in that box up there. So I'm adding more blue painter's tape and I'm adding this masking paper. So like this brown masking paper is basically exactly what it is. It's just to mask off sections of the piece. So that I don't get overspray. And typically like the overspray is always gonna fall down on the piece. And I'm out of tape, so let me grab some more. Tape break. Oh wow, I'm totally out of I'm out of blue tape altogether. No, nothing. Yeah, green tape. This is the frog tape. I call it frog tape. Nah. This is just like this stuff's like can be a little stickier. So I don't. All the audio stuff is in the top drawer. All right, so I'm still just setting in my mask up, trying to mask it off properly. Okay, and then the other thing I gotta do is like pick a shield. So with every painting that you do stencil work with, you're always gonna use shields as basically your. They're like your little guides, like your little they block overspray. They block the spray from where you don't want it to go. The other thing we use to do stencil work is we use popsicle sticks. So popsicle sticks are a great way to like hold down and cover like little parts of your stencil without getting your hand on there or whatever. Like the stencil always wants to like pop up and like you don't want the paint to go underneath it. You want to keep it down and keep the paint on like really, really, really lightly. That's the key with stencils. You got to go super light. People think stencils are easy, dude. They're not easy. They're difficult. Like if you do them and you get really into them and clean and precise, they're a pain in the ass. They're like tedious. So like I don't want to hear it when people say stencils are easy. If you're just doing a stencil quick and running away and whatever, that's stupid. But like if you're trying to like make it work into art, it kind of requires a lot of planning and it kind of makes me go crazy sometimes. But I like the result when it's done right. So, okay. All right. So, speaking of doing this right, I had like a little part of my stencil kind of pop out. So a little part of my stencil popped off, so I'm gonna just gonna make it, this little eyeball. So I'm just gonna make it with this tape right here, which is also a technique. You can just use tape to mask. Like some people make whole paintings out of just painter's tape and spray paint. Like there's really no limits. Half this stuff is made up. Like that's the point. Like I want to show people that like you can just do this stuff. And I kind of feel the same way with this video production thing. Like it's kind of just like an extension of any other paint tool. Once you figure out how it works and how to use the medium, it'll start to make sense. Like this first episode's obviously clunky as hell, and we're gonna figure it out. But yeah, hopefully this stencil works well. So all right, getting back to the spray paint, this is my favorite cap in the world right here. This is the banana cap, okay? Like all-time favorite. And the reason is it's got these like crazy dope little ridges on top. It's got this nice comfortable shape and it gets really, really thin lines, but like almost like a chisel. Like it's very, very sharp. One side is very sharp, the other side is very soft. So I'm gonna shake these cans up. This is a water-based fluorescent red. It's a glow-in-the-dark color. And we do have a black light on here, believe it or not. You can't really tell because we have like normal colored lights on, but yeah, there is a black light. So like there's some UV reactive elements here. So I'm shaking this can. And so I'm using a mix of like this fluorescent red and like maybe a little bit of this fluorescent orange. I don't think I even have a fluorescent orange in the water base right here. Nah, I just got this one, this red, so that's fine. What you doing?
Jordan, yeah. So,
What you doing? Where? From where?
because this is
Okay. All right, cool. Just watch the water right there. I just don't want to spill nothing on you. All right, cool. All right, so shake. Another thing that's gonna be super handy to me right here is this blow dryer, which like I use to dry off in case of emergencies. Like if things are like the paint is too heavy and it's gonna drip or whatever, I'm just gonna give it hits of this hot air because it'll keep it dry and keep everything, you know, a little cleaner basically. We got Audrey here as a potential guest who is testing this microphone. I mean, I think you're just talking right. I don't think these are feeding, right? No. Oh, gotcha. Oh, snap. Oh, shit. All right, so I'm still kind of like figuring my thing out here. Like, honestly, the thing about being in the studio and like letting people into it is the fact that like it's like a whole lot of like chaos. Like you're not always gonna know. Like I don't even know where certain shit is. We've we've been like organizing our space like crazy lately. So even though it's like almost like really well organized, it's almost too organized. All right, here I go. I got a glove. That's all I needed was a glove. A glove. All right, so that just keeps my hand a little clean. And I'm also gonna put it on my left hand, which is not my painting hand. I'm a righty, but that basically helps me to keep the stencil down because I'm gonna be spraying onto my left hand. So I don't really need the glove on my right hand. It's a lefty thing. Last but not least, I missed one step. So I want my stencil to go behind the pyramid here. I really don't want it to poke out from in front. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna add another little layer of masking onto the actual stencil itself. So boom, boom. And I'm actually masking off the pyramid here. Like that's the part that I want it to feel like it's going behind the pyramid, not in front of it. So this is how I'm gonna do that, and like again, I could have just laid this stencil down from the beginning and avoided this whole step and just like painted it exactly like it is. But I didn't do that. So this is my way of like going back in time. So you can kind of like layer it behind the whole situation. And yeah, like I said, this painting I started at this party. It was a good time. This painting's got a lot of good energy in it. A lot of good vibes. A lot of people have seen it, and it's been to a few fun shindigs. So yeah, I'm hoping it finds a good home. Like that's the point of putting this stuff out there too, is like just people laying eyeballs on stuff, and maybe us helping us as artists find potential collectors for our work. Like we make this stuff regardless. Like we're gonna make art till we're dead. Like that's it. Like so you gotta it's great if we can find a bigger collector base for specifically canvas work. In my opinion, like I I enjoy painting murals. I love painting walls. That's like my number one passion here with artistically, creatively. But I will say that I've been really missing being in the studio. And like, so this is like, you're seeing me back at, back in my like natural habitat again. But I really like, we've had this studio, and like, again, in the summer, sometimes what happens is we end up out in at the wall, or like painting and traveling and like working and stuff in different other different places that like we don't necessarily always spend time sitting in the studio working on canvas. But now that it's winter, it's kind of motivating me to finish a lot of this old work and move on to the next project, because there's like a couple like really dope, exciting projects and potential things happening with our studio. And like we this is the making art is always number one. Like no matter what kind of like jobs or gigs or events or anything that's going on, it's like really just about the creative practice of like being at the canvas or at the wall or in front of the desk or just like doing the work. Like that's all that this is about, and that's all that matters, and that's what we spend all of our time doing.
Damn right.
Honestly.
So Ryan.
Yes.
We're trying to test out us kind of sharing your mic just by me being in proximity to you. So,
Yeah, but how does that? Yeah, that doesn't.
no, I'm not saying here. I mean, like, as you're doing your thing, me being somewhat close by. We want to see if it's just for our first episode. We're testing stuff out. We didn't realize we needed to have a conversation. We're just
I mean, we don't really. We really don't. I don't think we don't have a mic, it doesn't really make sense.
Well, what we were getting at is if you want to talk.
It's more of a way to feel.
A little bit, if people can hear me at all, just for this first episode, then it works.
You can't hear that at all.
It does not work.
Yeah. Well, next show, what we were saying is basically like it'd be cool to evolve this to be like podcast style. So basically, instead of me just talking and ranting, this one's all going to be about me. But I like when we have other people in the mix to give their opinions and we can talk back and forth and shoot the shit around the room as like a podcast style. Because I'm not here by myself. We got people here. Exactly. Like I like that idea a little bit because it makes it more fun and interactive.
Hey.
All right.
Take the pressure off you for a few minutes. If you want to have some quiet, I can talk.
What, you want to take over on the mic here and give the play-by-play? All right, so we're going to give the live play-by-play over to the sports announcer.
Hey, everybody. Audrey here. I'm just going to... Oh, sure. I'll get on camera. That's fine. I could do that. Hey, guys. So, as usual, I'm up in the studio with Ryan here. And not just witnessing whatever he's working on, but he's really good about... He really does love to have like studio sessions where people are a part of it because he takes people's ideas and opinions into account. He's always asking me like, oh, does this work? Oh, does that work? Yeah, exactly. It's live painting. And whenever you're live painting, whenever it's not just you, the spectators become a part of the piece as well. And it changes what it becomes.
It adds energy to the space. Like it's like when you live paint at a festival or a concert or an event, the observer effect, like people being involved in it are actually like co-creating what the piece is itself.
That's what you always say.
The thing of tapping in, like letting someone in to be able to peek, like you don't have to take a look, but the fact that it exists, like it's interesting, at least to say the least. Like,
it's super interesting.
It's a way for us to live paint in the metaverse, you know, like that's what I think of it as.
And what I love, he's absolutely right. And what I love about this more than anything, because obviously this was Ryan's idea to do this podcast in the first place, and we were super excited. And as usual, we're going to just throw ourselves into something and let it evolve organically, just like this beautiful painting. And what we wanted to like see was, okay, let's do this first episode. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what it's going to be. And he really thought it was going to be Bob Ross, him just talking and teaching and doing this thing the whole time. And
sorry to cut you off. All right, so I'm going to spray the stencil now, finally.
Ooh!
Can you just do me a solid here?
I got you.
Film it while I'm doing it.
Hell yeah. Here we go.
And I'll take this. All right, so back on the mic here so I can explain what it is that I'm doing here. All right, so I got the water-based spray paint, and I got this popsicle stick, and I got my stencil all masked out, laid where it's supposed to go, okay? This is like the moment of truth. Like, honestly, if this thing isn't like lined up or it doesn't go the way I want it to, like, there's nothing I can fucking do about it. Nah. Like, I just have to like send it and commit to it and hope that I've prepped and done my work and made the right decision here, okay? Because I really think this is gonna either make or break the piece and either pull it together to where I really love it or I hate it. You know, time will only tell. So basically, I'm going super light here. I'm gonna just start from like the inside out, right? And basically, like, I'm going super light. Like, it doesn't have to. This is like an overlay. It's meant to be an overlay. It's not meant to be solid because it's supposed to be, like, energetic. It's supposed to symbolize, like, you know, an energetic code, not like a solid ring, if that makes sense. So what I do is I kind of dust in this, like, circular motion where I'm not like laying down too much paint, but I'm kind of spreading it out evenly. I'm also angling excuse me, angling my paint, my can a little bit so that it's not spraying into the other parts of the canvas that are already finished. Because again, I don't want to like fuck that up, right? So this is a delicate process. This is like not for like people who like don't, you know, yeah, like I said, this is better to do at the beginning, not at the end, because it's more it's more forgiving. Whereas like right now, I have no leeway.
So clever. I just noticed the eyeball. I don't know if you were
So
talking about that on camera, but the eyeballs are great.
yeah, I just filled in some parts of my stencils. But yeah, so I'm kind of just doing this glow effect, and like the goal is to just add some warmth, add some symbolism, and like some like ancient language type stuff that like kind of communicates to like the. I think of like hieroglyphics as like the original algorithm, right? It's like, you know, it's like the code of like, you know, some kind of like, you know, ancient or potentially future civilization. You know, there's something there, like, you know. So I think of that, like trying to capture that in this piece is like the fusion of technology with like, you know, what we think of as like just ancient lost culture and knowledge. Like, I don't know. Like, I think there's some like I think the answers are like are there, but we just haven't gotten to that part of the story yet.
Do you want to keep focusing on this so I can finish saying what I was saying?
Sure. So Audrey's gonna take this mic back. I'm gonna finish my stencil work and
You focus. I will talk to the people. Okay, hey people. So I'm simultaneously doing this close up so we can really see into his process. But I want to finish what I was saying before he so sweetly took back the microphone. I just think it's really cool that we've been talking about doing this show or podcast or whatever this is for a while. And it's so cool that we're finally dropping into it. And it's just a little bit of a kind of personal side note, but it's totally relevant that Ryan absolutely needed this outlet. Like, it's so obvious based on just how much he's had to say over the last hour or however long we've been filming. There's clearly something that he needed from this, and I find it doubly as funny and perfect that midway through, first episode, total experiment, he realizes, you know, I love this, but like, I'm kind of just talking into space and talking to myself, and like, I want to talk to somebody else, and I want the feedback, and I want the community and the observer effect and blah, blah, blah. And it's just perfect because we did say, oh, you know what, maybe we need a podcast. Maybe this is not the podcast. This is the show. This is the Bob Ross show. But we're kind of realizing it's all one and the same. It's all this one big thing. And it's just funny to me because Ryan and I are both big podcast fans, you know, Joe Rogan and Tom Segura and all them. So like, this is us taking the reins up and developing our own thing. Yeah. But it's so cool because we live in the age of podcasts. We live in the age of come into my studio, come into my office, whatever. Yeah, and like listen to me talk about for a long time probably. Listen to us have conversations about all the things, and it's a thing. And so I guess I'm just saying, like, this is so fun and so perfect and exactly what you needed, exactly what we all needed. And I'm happy to do it too. I love talking and I love being on camera. It's so fun. Okay. Yeah, I mean, no, it's really great. It's the next step for us also because we want to connect to all you people in the metaverse, especially those of you who are not local to where we are right now. One of the things that we always say is the most useful and awesome tool of technology is being able to connect with anybody, anywhere. And we have so many people we love and we've connected with who we can't be with in person right now. So this is the next best thing, you know? Who knows? Maybe we'll even take callers at some point. I mean, like, that'd be fun. How we doing? Ooh. Here, why don't you take the mic back so they can hear you?
Okay, back at it. So, like, I'm at this point where like I've kind of laid down a bunch of layers of this stencil. I've sprayed this out a couple times. Yeah, it's a little like, fumey up in here. But again, these cans don't make any fumes, so like it doesn't smell. It just creates like a little dust and particles. I should probably wear a mask, but YOLO. YOLO, kids. Dang, we should tell Rocco about this live stream.
Oh man.
Text him.
I got it.
Text him.
Yeah. Where's your phone?
Tell him we're live. All right, so I'm kind of like at this point with this stencil where I feel like I kind of have to like pull it back and give it the big reveal here. Because that's like, I can't really go further or know if I've gone far enough with it until I pull it back and reveal it. So I think that's what we got to do here. And just trust that I've like laid this down the smoothest and like the best that I can. Not too much, not too little. That's basically what it is with stencils. It's all about not too much, not too little. Like if you spray too much, you can't go back, Too little though, it's fine. Like you can always do more, but it's hard to line it up again. Like once you've done it once, it's like good luck lining that up. All right, so are we ready to like peel this off? I'm ready to peel this off. Honestly, at this point, like, all right. So,
Moment of truth.
the moment of truth. I'm basically just like pulling a bunch of this painter's tape off very, very slowly and delicately as to not rip my painting, and then holding my breath because, like, honestly, I'm kind of nervous. Damn, boy.
Okay, that came out even.
What? Yo, high five. Hey, kid. Yo, honestly, that came out like immaculate. I'm not gonna like
That's the perfect sense.
sit here and
Oh my god, it's
brag,
alive.
but
The whole
that
thing
just
is
pulled the
alive.
whole painting together. Just like that.
You thought it was finished.
See?
Uh-huh.
All right, so like
We got lucky.
so like what this is like I went super light on this fluorescent UV color, this orange, this red. It's actually fluorescent red. But I just like went super soft with it. And like that gave it this like faded overlay where it feels like it's see-through. Now it feels like it's a portal. It doesn't feel like it's a solid object the way that the temple and the pyramid is solid, or the person or the UFO or all these things are solid objects. It's like it's just, embedded or floating through the universe in some weird way. And I'm hyped, yo. Yeah, boy.
I was ever so slightly worried about what would happen if you were not hyped.
Yucks. Imagine you just punch through the painting.
Damn. Oh, the eyeball of the. It's a griffin. That's totally a griffin, right?
Yeah, that like little bird.
Looks like a griffin.
Little
to me, but I
dog.
like his eye. Wow. Lime green. We had a friend here earlier who was like, do it in lime green. We were like,
Nah.
what?
It had to be orange. And honestly, like there's a little bit more like orange that I could put in here. Like I have these little glow and stuff. And I used like a transparent yellow and a transparent orange, transparent red. So spray paint, Montana, they make a couple different transparent colors that you can kind of use almost like a glaze, same type of effect. So yeah, could glaze it though. Could like, there's still some little glow that I think I want to do and then like enhance. I want to enhance the glow in here a little bit again because that's kind of gotten glazed over. And honestly, it would look cool to get it like a little refreshed. But yeah, like I'm pretty hyped, honestly.
As you should be.
Yeah. Like all of that came out exactly how I wanted it. I don't know. Yeah.
Too.
And
Not
the
just
placement.
left to right, obviously it's centered, but
It's
top to bottom. I was wondering about that. It's awesome.
yeah, and the
way it
person
falls
is just
off
like
is-
right up there. I was worried that we're gonna be too high, but like everything's just like right on where it's supposed to be.
And the glow, the fluorescent glow. What did you say? It's not supposed to be. You were going.
It's
the dust.
so the fluorescent glow is like it's see-through. It's all about like transparency. It's like
But you also dusted it. Like it could have been not a.
I dusted it, yeah. So like yeah, like the key with like spray paint is that like what makes spray paint so awesome is that it can have solid opacity or it can have transparency. It's like the only medium that can do this. Like it can be a solid dot, a solid line, a block of color, or it can be a cloud of dust. It can be a line, it can be a dot, it can be all the different shapes you want it to be. It has like crazy versatility. So it's like, you know, it can be all these things. And so like I just want to like add a little, you know, a little right. And I think that's it. Like honestly, like that's like as far as I want to go with this stencil. All right. You know, give it a little dust, little dust and bones here. Cool. I don't know who. I wonder if anybody's watching at all. I'm probably just talking into the void, but we got viewers. Really? Batches. Hey. Hey. Let's give him a view. Batches. What up?
Oh, he totally called out Timothy Cripps. He was the guy who was saying to do it in lime green, and I said he's crazy.
Is he here? Is he with us?
I think, yeah, guilty.
Hey. All right, yeah. So like, I don't know. This painting's basically like it's almost there. It's gonna get some drips. It's gonna get some more like details and stuff. But like honestly, I'm not gonna like painstakingly go through all of that. I think it's something that I'm gonna like clean up later as I go, and finish up on my own time and stuff because, you know, I think we've been like riffing for a while.
It's about 56 minutes, actually.
Really? So the Artifakt Hour, we were actually dead on. Well, it's like I don't know, like nothing's really ever an hour. Like it's always gonna be like, you know what I mean? It's gonna be like a long format thing if we wanted to, but.
So, are we doing like a closing words of wisdom to the camera?
I mean, it's never truly ever finished, right? Like, I've really been trying to like work toward letting go of pieces and like all the imperfections with them. That's the biggest thing here. Like that stencil is as perfect as it needs to be. I'm not even gonna fret any of this. Like, and the rest of this is supposed to be imperfect. Like, I think one of the most important parts is just like letting go of that. So to end this podcast or this Artifakt Hour, we're just gonna have to go through some of the natural, you know, as much as we focus on the order here, let me like splatter a little paint before we leave, no?
Hell yeah. And I just want to point out the word that you keep using, perfect and perfection. We're going to wait till the next episode and make sure that we sit down and really talk about that word and unpack that a little bit.
I mean, yeah, and also like dial in our production and our presentation so we're nice and smooth and stuff. But this is fun. Like this is a good first try. I hope like the video quality and everything and the audio quality is on point. And if the art's on point and we talk about cool stuff, then like I guess we're doing it, you know. I can't guarantee it's gonna be like, you know, anything crazy educational or whatever, but hey, can you get like a shot of like down here so like I can do this? Like I'm just gonna do like a splatter effect because I've been really wanting to do a little bit of splatter at the bottom and kind of embrace some of the chaos here. But like I wanted to get some of these bigger splatters that I wasn't really getting the first time around. So I'm gonna practice them over here. Okay, yeah, I got these down. So basically this splatter effect that I do, okay, I got that. Which camera am I looking at here? Right here. Got you. So the splatter effect, all right? I use a needle cap, Needle cap is like this. It's got this little stem on the top of it. This thing will just splatter and shoot specks and splatters, and like it's great for drips. Basically, I'm gonna spray it into this cap and then just throw the cap. If you throw it in a certain way, you get these certain like splatter effects or whatever. So let's see how it goes. You really can't control it at the end of the day. It does what it wants to do. So again, throwing splatters at a barely like a almost finished painting is like stressing me out, but like it has to be done. This is what we have to do. We have to let go of this shit and just let the art just like let the paint just be what it wants to be. Like you cannot control this shit. Like this is the point, right? So this is order and chaos, right? Like this is the direction of this work here. So ready? 1, 2, 3. I gotta go a little bigger. That's good. I like that one.
Yeah, me too.
Ah, okay, cool. See, that's kind of what I was going for there.
Yeah.
I'll do like a little bit more. And I think that was kind of it. And just like a little bit like exploding. It just kind of creates a little bit of an explosion effect.
Perfect, and then so like,
Yeah, it just needed a little more chaos and explosions kind of. And this color, sorry, it's a, ready, back the camera up a little bit, Audrey.
ooh, that was a good
That was a lot.
angle. This piece was so not done. It's so good, man. Yeah, you cut an angle.
It needed a lot more of that disintegration. Yeah, try not to get our brand new cameras spattered with paint already, but all right, back it up one more time. So like this little splatter effect, honestly, I hold my breath every time because I get scared. Like I don't know where any of those are gonna go. I'm just whipping paint at this painting, and like honestly, like I couldn't sit there. I could not sit there with a brush and get every little speckle to be in a different spot, like the way that like physics can, like the way that like you physically, yeah, like you can only, you can't simulate organic chaos. That's exactly it. You really literally just have to throw paint at the wall to get it to have that like explosion type crazy effect. You know, I can't like simulate that any other way.
And again, like
So
it's
so
balanced, it's so symmetrical, it's so perfect.
So, but yeah, that's the thing with spray, and that's what spray paint's all about. It's like you have the full spectrum. You can do the cleanest, you know, whatever most refined, most like, you know, conceptual style, but you can also do pure chaos and just like abstraction, you know? Like I love the fact that it has that, like it's so dynamic as a medium. And then, you know, obviously with the rest of this piece, I come in with the brushes. I use paint markers to do some of my highlights. I'm gonna use, you know, just paintbrush and fluid acrylics to do all of the stars. I use like this stuff. This is like really dank fluid acrylics. And then I also use like, again, the spray paint I was just using, Montana 94 for those splatters. The glow is done here with this Montana water-based. All of these materials we sell at our shop called Artifakt Supply, which is in Worcester, Mass. Boing, 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 boing. Yeah, so, you know, we're trying to do more educational, you know, talks and stuff with these materials so people know how to use them and they become more proficient. And yeah, and also yes, we aim to make the products accessible, but like more importantly, how do you actually use said products? Like if you don't know how to make art, it's no point to having art materials and art supplies. And like as we know, a lot of us have paint and have art supplies that we don't use. So So yeah, that kind of like concludes this whole artifact hour. I think we're gonna wrap this up. Thank you for joining, and this was a great like first little test run here. Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Audrey, for hanging out. And until next time, we'll do this as like a weekly thing. We will see